In this video, I'm going to show you how you can build your own password generator easily with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Hey, I'm Tyler Potts, and we are going to be building this password generator here. As you can see, it's super simple, looks really cool, but it generates any password. We could say, let's say 24, and it will create a 24 character password here. We can choose to not have uppercase letters and just lowercase. We can even take out the lowercase if we want, just have numbers and symbols. You can also take out the symbols and just have a number password. This is just a random number generator at this point. And we can just, you can choose any combination of these. If you choose none, then you will get nothing. Obviously, for obvious reasons, because you can't have something without something. Anyway, here you go. And we're also going to be using the clipboard API, which is actually the new way to copy and paste in JavaScript. And there you go. You can see that's copied to our clipboard, and we can just paste that anywhere we want. We can generate a different one, copy it, and we shall now have the new password there, as you can see. So let's actually get into the code of this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to dock this to one side, slap that over there, bring this down. We need to zoom out because I am zoomed in heavily. And there you go. Hopefully that's still seeable. And then we'll bring this piece of lovely VS Code over here. Now we need to create 3 files. We're going to create an index.html. We're going to create a main.css file and also a main.js file here. So we can close this sidebar now. And in the main.js, I'm just going to start with the boilerplate or the basic template code here, which you get with pretty much any of the text editors nowadays. And in here, we're just going to say password generator. Now we need to actually go and get, we're going to be using an icon here, as you can see. So we need to actually go and get the link for that. Now I actually have it on the left, sorry, not on my right, on my left. And there you go. This is actually the link to the material icons. Now if you want to get this, you can head over to material or fonts.google.com/icons. Select icons and click developer guide, and this will tell you how you can get started. If you scroll down far enough, you'll see this link, and that's all we're using there. And then you can actually see how you use it by clicking on one, and you can see the code you need to actually have it showing. And there you go. So that's what we're going to do. So we can just close this now and then go back here. Now the next link we need to do is our main.css. And then in our body, we just want to have a script source which says main.js. Now that is going to be all of the linking we need to do. So we're linked in our HTML, CSS, and Google Fonts because we're going to be using that for this icon here. And the next thing we need to do, if we refresh this page now, we're not going to actually see anything over here. Now to open up your browser, we're just going to put quick H1, just say hello in there. And then in here, we can open this up. You can either reveal it in your Finder, and then double click it or drag it into there to open it up. You can also start a server. So if you don't want to do it this way, you can also start a live server by going, if you have the nodes or the npm environment installed, you can say npx live space live server hyphen. Oh, and I'm just going to close the sidebar so you can see that all in one line. Just like that, hit enter, and that will start a server on a local host for you. And here you go. Now, if we make any changes to this, it should update live on the right there without even having to refresh. You can see that changed. Cool. Now we've got that out the way. Let's close this bar and let's just actually write our code. Now, I'm going to start from main to wrap everything in an actual generator area where we're going to have our generator. We then want a H1. And we can just call this password generator. Underneath the password generator, we want to create a label with the class of password wrap. Now, this is where our actual password elements are going to sit. So we want an input of type text with an ID of password. And that's cool. We do not need a name for this because we're not actually doing this inside of a form. We're going to set it to read only because we don't want anyone to be able to actually change this. And we're going to set the placeholder equal to generate a password. Oh, again, I cannot spell today. There we go. And then underneath this, we want a button which we're going to give the class of material icons. Oh, and the ID of copy. Now, I'm just going to zoom out one here. I think it may be too zoomed in. If it's now too zoomed out for you, I apologize, but I feel like it was too zoomed in. We're going to change this to say content underscore copy and hit save. And you're going to see it's going to give us the actual icon there, which we want, which is the content copy icon. And there we go. We can break this down to make it look a bit neater. And there you go. We've now got our password wrap at the top here. We then want a few more labels. So we're going to have a label. This one is going to be have a span with a password length in here. Oh. Then underneath we can say input of type number. We do not need a name. The ID will be length, and we will give this a value of 16 by default. So this is going to be the length of our actual password we generate. Now, if we copy and paste this, we can change this, and there's a few more we need to do. So we need to include uppercase letters. We can change this to be a checkbox because we only need to check it. This just needs to be uppercase, and we don't need a value. However, we do want this to be checked by default. We want all of these to be checked by default. And now we can paste another one. This one is as simple as changing this to lowercase and lowercase. Again, just keep copying and pasting until we get them all in. So we need numbers. Include numbers. And we can change this to numbers. And that should be capitalized to match. And finally, we want our symbols. And then this ID will be symbols. There you go. So now we have every single one in there, which we need. Our options. So we have our uppercase, our lowercase, our numbers, and our symbols. We then want to get a button. We want to just set the type equal to submit. We then want an ID generate. And then pass in here generate password. So now we have all of our HTML in place here. We do not need any more HTML. This was all we needed. Once you've got that, we can head over and start making this look pretty, because currently it does not look pretty at all. So we're going to start off with just a margin of 0 on every element. Same with the padding. We want to make sure the box sizing is equal to border box. And also this is set in post CSS, and it should just be CSS. I should now get autocomplete. There we go. Font family, we want that to be sans serif. And there you go. Now that's already looking better. This is basically usable. Just changing the font family, that's all you need. We're going to set the background color just to a 2847, some sort of purpley sort of black blue background. And we're also going to set the color to the same. Now you're probably wondering, what are you doing? That's going to make your text invisible. I know, but there's a reason for it, and we'll get to there in a second. We're going to have a background of white on our actual generator wrapper. We're going to display this as flex too. We can move everything to the center. We're going to align item center. We're also going to justify content center as well. This is just going to bring everything to the middle. However, it's not going to work because this doesn't fill the whole screen. So to make this fill the whole screen, we want to set a min height of 100 VH, and there you go. That's going to make it central. We're also going to give it a padding of 2 rem. That's just going to make sure our content box doesn't touch the edges at all. We're then going to get our generator, which is going to be our generator wrapper. And we're going to set the width to 100% just to make sure it spans out. But we're also going to have a max width of 640 pixels because we do not want this going too wide. It would probably look really weird. We're going to set margin 0 auto. This will bring it to the center, although we don't actually need this really because we have this. So yeah, let's just remove it. I was just guessing there, just thought I'd add it in. Now I think about it, you don't actually need it. We're going to set 32 and 16 pixels for the actual padding on this one. Oh, sorry, 2 rem is probably better, and 1 rem will make, it's the same value, it's just done differently. Background color, and I'm going to set this to white, and there you go. Now we can actually see the text on screen, which is exactly what we want. We're going to set a border radius, and this is going to be to 1 rem as well. And there you go. That's looking pretty good already. I'm definitely not trying to make it sound like I know what I'm doing. H1, and here we go, because no web developer really does. We just make this up on the spot. We just type in random words and hope it works. So for our title here, we're going to put it down to 1.5 rem to make it a bit smaller. We're just going to make it, give it some padding under, or a margin underneath to push stuff down. Apparently I have generated a speech issue here. And we're going to input not, and we don't want to change the checkbox style. However, we want to change every other checkbox and the or every other input and the button here. And we're just going to reset them. So we're going to have no appearance, outline none, border none, and also background, not background color, background none. Because these are all the default values that get set on an input and a button, and we want to remove that to make it less ugly. We then want to actually target the checkbox this time. So we're going to say type equal to checkbox instead of not equal to. And we're just going to set the cursor to pointer, because this, even without this, we are losing the cursor, the pointer here. And I think it just looks nice to do that. You can also click on the actual label as well to help remove those. But that's where we're at there. Cool. So now we've got that. Let's actually make our password wrap look good. So we're going to set this as a position relative, display of flex, and a width of 100%. We're then going to give it a margin bottom of 1 rem, and there you go. So that's already looking good. We want to give the password wrap an after value. Now that's the reason we gave this a position relative, is because this is going to have a position of absolute, and if we didn't, this would attach to the actual page and not the password wrap, just so you're aware of why I'm doing that. We're going to set the content to nothing, because we don't actually want any content here, but you have to have the content field for an after or before tag, just so it displays, otherwise it will not display. We're going to set the position equal to absolute, as I said. We're going to set the top to 100%, because we want it to push all the way down to the bottom. We want to give it a height of 3 pixels. And by the way, feel free to mess around with your own styling. You don't have to copy my styling. This is just the styling I like. And this has no relevance to the actual functionality of this. You can do this. You could have done this when it was a big mess up in the top. Like, you could have done no styling and just used the functionality. By the way, there is going to be some tags down below or some timestamps. So if you do want to skip ahead to the JavaScript part, I will have that already ready for you down below. If I remember. If I don't, then shout at me in the comments and I will fix that. Anyway, I hope you're following along. I haven't really been speaking. This is just adding some styling here. We're going to add a gradient to this element here. So we're going to set it to 5.1, 8C, and D4. And we're going to set this to 75%. And this should be 25%, I believe. And there you go. But you can see we have this gradient bottom area here, which is awesome. We now need to just get the input in there. So we're going to say the input. Let's scroll down, make this easier to read. And we will give this a flex 110%. This will just push it, make it so it basically takes up all the space it possibly can. But it will not break this element. That's why it's 0%. And then we're going to give this a color. I want that color it highlighted there, that one. Which is going to be the actual color of the text that appears. So there you go. You can see that's already looking really good there. We now just want to get the input placeholder, because we want the placeholder to look different to the actual. We want the placeholder to look different to the actual input there. And we're just going to give it a color of AAA and a font style, or not size, style of italic. And there you go. That's already looking really good. Now we have a little bit more. So we just want to get the obviously the password wrap button. So we're going to get this here. We want to set the cursor to pointer. Now we're going to do something fancy here, and we are going to make this a gradient element. But because this is actually a font, we need to. It's not just a background image we can use. We are going to copy this, paste this here, and we're going to say to bottom probably is the better way to go. We could do bottom to bottom right. We're going to set this to 0%, but we will leave this on 75%. And then, so if we just go like that, you're going to see it looks like that, which isn't great. That's not what we want. We want it to actually be a gradient on the elements, on the text. So to do that, we need to get WebKit, background clip, and we're going to set this to text. Now that's going to clip it to the text, but it's actually currently showing the fill color of our text. So now we want to say WebKit, text, fill color, and set this to be transparent. That will make it so the backgrounds that we've clipped to the text is now visible here, and you can see that is looking pretty cool there. So that is our gradient little copy button there. And now we've got a little bit more. We want to get a label. We want to get all the other labels and display them as a block element with a flex of 1, 1, and 0%. Saying that, I don't think they need a flex on this one. I don't know why. I, for some reason, thought the wrapper for them will flex. It's not. We just need a white space of no wrap. There we go. So that should make sure these don't break under each other, because that is super annoying in this case. And also user select none, just so you can't highlight it, because it kind of gets annoying. So you can click them, and you can click as much as you want, it won't highlight. There we go. We want to get a label input of type number. So we're actually going to style up our number element here. And we just want to say text align right to push it to the right side. And actually, you know, that's it. I think that looks good. I was going to add a background color, but I think the background color will make it look really dodgy. So we're now going to style our submit button, which is actually the button at the very bottom here. And what we're going to do is we're going to give this a cursor of pointer. We're going to give this a padding of 0.5 rem, 1 rem to give it some actual size. We're going to make the color be white because the text is going to be a white. We're going to have the font weight of bold, a text transform uppercase. We want the same gradient we use up here. However, we're going to actually change this to be 25% and 50%. We then want to set the background size to be 200%. Now, this is going to look a bit weird. We also want this to be to bottom. Actually, just to right will work better. And then we want this to be 200%, and then background position to be set at 25%. So you get this nice gradient when you're looking at it. We're then going to add a transition, because we're going to add a hover effect to this. And we're going to set 0.3 ease out. Now, let's actually get this and add our hover event. So we would just want to say on hover, we're going to get the actual position, and we are going to move this to, let's say, 75%. So now when we hover over this, you can see it does a nice little thing. Also, I'm missing a border radius here. So let's just set a border radius of 0.5 rem to give it a nice sort of rounded edge. You could probably even say 2.5 there. To give it just a slightly radius, smaller edge there. Also in our label, I'm just going to add a margin bottom to this and set to 1 rem. And I'm actually going to change this to be a flex element. We want these to flex so they sit in line nicely. We also need to get our label span, and we need to set this to be display block. We want our flex to be 110%, so it pushes it out, and you can see all the content's now on the right. And then finally, we just want to say white space. Oh, no, not on the label. Actually, yeah, white space, no wrap. And then we could remove the no wrap from up here because we only needed that. There you go. You can see this is how it's looking. We can select each element. We can actually turn it off with these as well. And we can generate. So that's the actual style and look of this complete. So how do we actually make the password generate? So let's go into JavaScript and actually start this. Now, there's a few elements we need to copy and paste. So we need to copy, or sorry, not copy. We need to get a reference to every single one of our checkboxes, our buttons, and our password input. So to do that, let's just say const password L is equal to document.querySelector. And we are going to get the password element first. We're then going to get our length element, which is going to be equal to document.querySelector. And we will get our length. We will then also get our uppercase L equal to documents.query selector, and we're just getting the ID of all of these, as you can see here. So we're just going to set the ID, and setting them to a variable. So I'm just going to actually paste in the rest here to save us the time of writing them all out. We will also get our button. So we need to get a query selector to our buttons, and then we need to actually set up the symbols. Now, these are the symbols we need. We need uppercase characters. As you can see, it's just all capital A, B, C, all the way to X, Y, and Z. And the same with lowercase. We then just want 0 to 9 in our number characters, and then we just want these select few symbols. Now, you can add more, but I'm pretty sure these are the ones which are accepted on most passwords. If you add more, like an @ symbol, it may not be... Oh, the @ symbol is there, sorry. Not an @ symbol. What's another one? Like a tilde. It may not be accepted in the actual criteria for passwords. So we're trying to keep it at this. So now we have all our elements here. We want to create 2 functions. So I'm going to set the first function called generate password. Now that will generate our passwords. The next one, we actually need an asynchronous function called copy password. Now, the reason it's asynchronous is because the navigation clipboard API actually is, it's asynchronous. It allows you to wait for the value to be copied. And I'll get to that when we get to it. But first, let's start off in generate password. The first thing I want to do is we want to get a reference to the password we're going to generate, which will just be a blank string. We then want to get the length of the password we want to generate. And this is going to get our length value, so the length up here, dot value. Oh, just dot value, not area max value, just value. We then want to get our characters and set it equal to a blank string. Now we want to basically check if these are checked, then we will add each one of these to our actual generator here. So anytime we do this, we want to say characters is plus equal to. So every time we hit generate, we will clear the characters variable. And we will re-add again, just to make sure if anyone's changed these, clicked or checked any of them, it will change that value. So we want to say uppercase element dot checked question mark. So if this is true, then we want to give it our uppercase characters. Otherwise, we're going to give it an empty string. Now let's copy and paste this 4 times. Now the second one is going to be our lowercase. The next one will be our numbers. Numbers. And finally, we will add on our symbols. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to loop through the length of our password we want to generate. So we want to say for let I equal 0. I is less than or equal to the length I plus plus. So the reason we're doing equal to, normally you would just do this. We're doing equal to because we want it to go all the way to what the number is, 16, and not anything less. If we did this as equal to, we would only get 15 characters from our length. We then want to say let random, because we're going to be using random values here. So we're going to say math.floor, math.random times, and we're just going to times it by our characters.length. So here we are getting our length of characters, so all the characters we have. We're going to get a random one of those characters by doing math.random and then floor, and this will give us back basically a random character index that we can use to actually select that character. So to select that character, we'll just want to set the password is plus equal to characters.substring. This is going to split the string to the random and then random plus 1 character. So this will cut the string at that character. So this random will stand for this. Let's say it's this one, and then we just say plus 1 to select that character. And that's basically where it's going to get. That's how we basically split the string, or not split, we steal a character from that string and add it to our password. Now this is going to run through, let's say 16 times or even 24, whatever you change your password length for, and give us that many characters added to our password. And finally, we can just say password L dot value is equal to password. Hit save, and now we can actually start generating a password. Although there seems to be, We can't because I haven't actually added the event listener. So we've made the function, but we need to call the function when we click this button. Now we got a reference to our generate button here. So underneath this, we can say generate button dot add event listener, click, and then we can just say generate password. Now we can also copy this, paste it below, copy our copy button, then copy our copy password name, and pass that into this event listener here. So when we copy our event listener button, it's now hooked up to this event, which does nothing yet, but we'll get to that in a second. So let's see if we can generate a password. You can see now we're generating a random password with random numbers, uppercase, lowercase numbers, and symbols. Let's turn off symbols. You can see we no longer get any symbols in there. We just get the numbers, uppercase and lowercase. Let's remove lowercase and re-add symbols. You can see now it's just a really shouty password. And then if we can take out that as well, we can also take out numbers. And you can see you can change this up to match the password you want to create. Here's just lowercase. Here it's just uppercase. And if we don't add anything, it'll just reset the password to nothing. And that's fine for this. Maybe you want to make a alert that says, oh, don't forget to tick one of these boxes to generate a password. But I think people will understand if they uncheck them all. There you go. So now we can generate a random password, but we can't copy it easily. We'd have to highlight it, right click, copy, or Control C, or Command C, whatever you're on. So let's use the Navigator Clipboard API, which is really easy to use, by the way, and copy our text. So what we want to say is await navigator.clipboard. So this is how we get access to our clipboard. And before we do this, we want to actually check if our clipboard is available. If we do this, this is going to say, hey, do we have access to our clipboard? If this comes back negative, then this won't actually work and it'll throw an error. So this way, we're just going to stop the error from happening before it does. We're going to say write text, and we're going to pass in the password element dot value, and that's going to copy our value. We then just want to alert or let the user know. We're just going to say password copied to clipboard. And there you go. So that should hopefully work flawlessly. So let's actually try this. Generate a password. Let's copy this password copy to clipboard. Let's try and paste it. And there you go. You can see that works flawlessly. If we generate a new password, you can see it starts for 7 and ends in a Q. And we paste that, we can see it starts for 7 and ends in a Q. And that is how you can build your own password generator in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Now, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to leave a thumbs up. It really helps me create more content on this platform. And if you do like videos like this and you want to see more, then hit that subscribe button. It lets me know you enjoy my content. Finally, if you have any questions or you have just a quick query you want to ask, drop it in the comments down below. If you get stuck, really stuck, and you need some help and you can't be answered in the comments, jump in my Discord server, the link's down below. Go to the help forum and just ask for help. Or you can just join our Discord if you want to be a part of the community as well. It's totally up to you. But yeah, thanks for tuning into this video, guys. And I will see you in the next one. Peace out.